All right, we're on. Welcome to week. Oh, we don't need to count the weeks. Welcome to another live Q&A. We have MindFit ambassador Nick Mills and MindFit ambassador and all-round weirdo Daniel Brosnan. Welcome, lads.
Thank you.
It's so funny. I've never met you, but I'm willing to call you a weirdo.
That's all right.
Or the way you called me, the voice you called me with this morning, I think it's okay. And before, when you jumped off the trial Zoom, I did hear you say "love you," so thank you.
That's all
I got that in. How you both going?
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Enjoying the isolation lifestyle.
Yeah. So Daniel, we're in Melbourne. Nick and I are in Melbourne. We're I think 203 days into lockdown?
Lost count.
Yeah, roughly. And Daniel is living life as per normal in Brisbane.
Yeah, in sunny Queensland. So it hasn't, been quite fortunate, I suppose, in that aspect. You don't really see what's going on down in Melbourne. So, after our conversation the other day, he gave us a bit of insight. It's confronting, really.
Yeah, it's I guess it's an interesting conversation because the last 3 weeks we've spoken about how people have gone through COVID, but you really only had a couple of weeks at the start of the year where it was kind of, it didn't really hit you guys, but it was that preparation in case it does.
Yeah, pretty much. Didn't really affect me work-wise. I was very fortunate in that aspect, but we did have to up and move just so we did stay employed in case the borders did shut and we weren't able to go back home for whoever knows how long for.
Yeah.
So that was still a big change for me and the family. Go ahead and do that, but apart from that, everything's been semi-normal.
I laugh because I'm very jealous.
Yeah.
And laughter is the best medicine when you're angry. But in saying that, like I've got a lot of friends around the country who are, going out to pubs and I love seeing it because it shows that at some point Melbourne's going to get there as well. So it gives a really good insight and a good hope to us who are, there's been some mistakes made by people in Victoria. Won't blame anyone on a live Zoom YouTube chat, but that's the reality. So we'll get there eventually. It's just going to be a bit of a slow burn. So with that in mind, how have you gone just in 2020 in general with your mental health? What's it been like?
This year has been a pretty good year actually with mental health for myself. Probably there has been a lot more stress being put on the plate as such with the coronavirus, moving the family, and with the employment side of things. But with the work I've done with Nick, it's I've been well equipped, to attack that. And just controlling the controllables was really the key one that kind of pulls you back into line. You can get lost in that, all the social media and all the news, which, if you follow that, it can get you quite down, like if you revolve your life around that. So, I'm just controlling what I can control. So,
It's a very easy saying, control the controllables. It's sometimes harder said than done, but in reality, it's the best way to live because it's focusing on what you can control right in that moment, which you can't get lost in. It's pretty easy to know what to do in the next step when you're concentrating on that. So really good message there. So just paint a little picture for the watchers. I won't say who are you, but I'll say what's your family life like? Kid, I know it all, so it's hard to ask the question. Kids, wife, girlfriend, like what does that look like?
I have a partner and two girls here. Oh yeah, what do you? Yeah.
Is it? You're a what do you do for work?
So for work, I am a dual tradie. So I'm a plumber, gas fitter, and boiler maker. So yeah, got me hands full there.
Yeah, and you so you work 16. Is it 16 day, 12 days on? What is it?
No, so at the moment the roster I've been doing for the past 6 months has been 16 days on, 12 days off.
Yeah. How does that play a role in your mental health? And I guess because it tests your routine and your structure quite dramatically. You know, you're going 16 days in a row and can sometimes not feel like the end, and then you get 12 days and you probably I'm guessing the first 2 days you're kind of just getting yourself back into getting a bit of rest and getting back into it. What's that like?
Yeah, it's that one's been a bit of a challenge. 'Cause I do triathlons and that's pretty much a full time job as it is with the training side of that. So I've worked in with my coach around that side of things, and we're kind of training every second day, which it has really helped me to kind of demote, like kind of, we could say, process the day as such, like everything that's gone on in that day. So I come home, get ready, go out and do my exercise for the afternoon, come home and I find that I've processed all that stuff instead of coming into the door with all this, all the stuff that's gone through on the day on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And being reactive, you can go out, process it. Be a bit more present, I suppose, at the home front.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I reckon anyone that's a triathlete has got something crazy going on in their brain anyway. It's you're working three disciplines, and it's which one do you prioritize, and which one, it's phenomenal, really. Some people struggle just to run, let alone run, fucking ride and swim.
No, that one's. Well, when COVID came around, all I could really do, because I was in camp, all I could really do was jog. So jogging, my jogging fitness and that sort of thing, it was unreal. Like, it was really good. But then to go jump in the pool, I was struggling to do 100 meters. That was a hard battle, that one. But I'll leave that one in the coach's department, what he do. But no, it's pretty good. Like, some days I feel like going for a jog, so I'd rather get out for a cycle. But then, swimming, I do enjoy swimming a lot, actually. So that's my body.
Yeah, I think that's why that's a big thing once you get older. The younger generation run, and then we screw our bodies up, and then we go, we want to do something, but we can't run anymore. So it's bike or swim. So have you got any questions, Nick, at this point in time?
One of the things I hear a lot from guys who do FIFO is about finding routine in their camps. How have you found going with routine, and do you involve meditation or?
I suppose for routine in camp for me was very much based around my training. Every second day, that was, I suppose, my meditation or my way to process for the day. A lot of the other people, I was working with, I'd go back and crack a beer and that was their way of processing, which I know now, it's not a very healthy way to kind of process things. It plays havoc with your sleep too. You wake up grumpy and whatever else and not really well rested. That one's you get full in the trap though with peer pressure too with that. Oh, come on, just come have one beer. It's like, no, I'm doing my own thing. I think that's where you show strength, and when you tell people up front, they appreciate that instead of, a lot of people just go, oh yeah, fair enough, sweet, and appreciate you being honest. But in the same token, like I do, once if there was a rest day, I might have to go have a beer with someone, but that's it. You don't overdo it as such.
Yeah.
Yes, does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, no, it does, because I've heard a lot of stories, and like you mentioned, there's the guys who'll go to and have a few beers after work, and there's the ones that will go do their exercise, and you kind of comes down to you hit the guys that are also saying, yeah, I've not enjoyed working away, but then you've had other guys I've heard that they've enjoyed their time away.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's a lot easier to get in a routine when you're away at camp, because you don't have to worry about your meal. You're not worrying about, your family as such. Like, you are worrying about them, but I mean, you're not coming home and having to, bath the girls, get them ready, go out and feed the dogs. All you're pretty much doing is going to work, go and have your dinner, go on to bed, and then repeat. Like all your lunches and all that, everything's done for you.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to get into a routine there. But when you go back home, or when you're off shift, then it kind of does throw a bit of a spanner of work, because you got to do a lot more other things, I suppose. You got to now cook for yourself, go run the girls to school, or take the dogs out, go clean the yard. So it's two different worlds. Yeah, it's completely two different worlds, which took a little bit to adapt to. But yeah, if you leave work, I used to take work home with myself and just think about work and kind of ignore the other stuff that was going on at home. But now it's just work's work. When you finish, that's it. And now it's my time. And don't give that work that energy.
That's I think that's another powerful statement, especially for males. I think, especially in Melbourne with COVID, a lot of males have been stripped back to the work hours, and now seeing their family and friends and really appreciating those small things. And they've always been there, but when you are taking work home with you, it's like nothing else matters. And it creates a bit of a storm in the family and friends environment, because they want to talk about something else and your mind's elsewhere, and you're not, as you said, you're not present. So yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, what made you reach out to Nick at MindFit? Where was your head at?
Well, that's a bit of a funny story, that one. So when I met Nick, I was living out in Mount Isa. So at this point, I'd seen numerous amount of doctors and numerous amount of
Psychologists
and psychotherapists. In that aspect, and I kind of, I suppose, I lost a lot of trust within the health system as such. So yeah, I had a friend invite me along out to a camp draft where they were doing a mental health chat, and the trademark boys were going out there as well. And so I was like, oh yeah, I suppose I'll head out. They might have this miracle answer. I was looking for this miracle answer. It's gonna fix everything, and I was going to be on track.
And let's just put it out there. Nick from MindFit is not a miracle answer either. let's
not that magical pill you talk about.
No, we've got a few of them left in the office.
Yeah, but that's so. Yeah, I went out to this camp draft, and the one thing that resonated with me was when Nick got up and did his speech, and he was like, "Oh, who here has mental health?" And I was in kind of in this outdoor seating area. Had all these cowboys and station workers are quite tough and don't really like to talk about their emotions. And here I am just raising my hand up, kind of. He didn't see me, luckily enough, but for me, put my hand up saying who has mental health, because I had anxiety, depression, diagnosed with that. But then he's like, well, we all have mental health, so like nutritional and physical health. So and that was just the first taste, and I was like, yeah, wow, it's it changed my kind of view of everything. So then I got in touch with the trademark boys, and they pointed me to Nick. And then that's when we started working. I think it's been over 2 years now. I've been working with Nick.
And without delving too much into too many negative type details, I mean, from what I gather, you were in a place where, you know, suicide was an option and thought about, and so you were essentially at rock bottom a few times.
Yeah, and I hit rock bottom a couple of times, and even through working with Nick, you know, it's not easy, you know, it's not smooth sailing. You can't just go into a program and think that's going to, you know, it was going to answer everything. I had to do a lot of work on myself personally, yeah, like amongst that, yeah, I did hit rock bottom a couple of times. I suppose that I knew I wasn't going to get the right help either with the health system as such. So you kind of learnt how to answer their questions. So you go home and you know, self-medicate yourself like I was. You know, I was using alcohol as a you know, self-medication really. So and I was doing that for a very long time. I think it was probably, you know, 4 years without me even realizing that that's what I was doing to cope with the mental stress and what was going on, the mental physical side of things. So yeah, it all come crashing down, and yeah.
Have you got anything, Nick? Quickly.
No.
You're good. Just put your hand up if you want to say something.
I'll get a little sign.
Yeah, put a sign up. My turn. I guess I think all three of us have been in at that point. Probably used alcohol as a numbing agent. Tell you what, it's fantastic when you go through it, but then you get out of it and you realize that fuck it, everything's still the same. And so you go again and you go again and you go again, and then you realize how, you know, all of a sudden 4 years has gone by, and or a year or 3 years or 25 years for some people, and your life is what you say is very quickly gone down the gurgler, but it's been a very slow grind. So I hope people that are watching this can be inspired by the fact that you were at that stage. And I guess we'll now sort of talk on, you know, what did the next sort of process look for you? You touched on how hard it was for you, and you had to do the work. I mean, what was the work you did, and how did you get through those hard times?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, going back to what we we're just talking about, I think for me, I knew something, I had to change something had to happen because I couldn't keep going. You know, like I was very fortunate, you know, there was a couple of instances there where I might not have still be here today. But I was very fortunate to, you know, still be here. And, you know, like after, you know, a couple of it, yeah, that last kind of attempt, you could say, it's like, yeah, wow, like that was probably a real wake up call for myself. And it's like, I can't keep going like this. I do need some proper, like some real help, instead of, you know, just a band-aid, what I was doing with alcohol and, you know, what the doctors prescribed me medication. So it was just, you know, that's just a temporary band-aid, temporary band-aid fix. But with the work, so obviously I did the discovery session with Nick, where we just talked about, you know, what was going on in my life, talked about my personalities, and I had a lot of, I suppose, red flags, as Nick called them.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a lot of red flags there that I needed to work on. So we pretty much, yeah, stripped down all my beliefs, all my thoughts, and kind of pretty much had to start from the bottom and rebuild. But, you know, a lot of those things come subconsciously. So without you even thinking, you're already doing it as such. So, but nowadays I'm catching myself a lot more.
Yeah.
Especially with, I can suppose, I still enjoy a beer these days, but the other one thing that I used to do was, hard day, go subconsciously go have a beer. That was what you did. But now I catch myself and go, oh, do I really need, is that what I really want? But, I'll go grab my bike and go for a run. It might be a rest day, but it's like, oh, no, well, I'm going to go do some exercise, process what it is I need to process, and then come back instead of actually, going and grabbing that beer and whatnot. So, yeah, that's probably like a good change that I made. Now I'm now more aware what my mind's doing, catching it and going, oh, hang on a minute, it's not me. Yeah.
It's so funny. Like this is a common occurrence like that I'm coming across probably over the last 12 months. When I was in the mental health clinic, there's a guy who his addiction was weed and gambling. And the gambling was fine while I was in there, but he'd go 2 weeks and he'd be fine. And then all of a sudden he'd be starting, he's like, I need weed. And we pictured it. We pitched what we did. We started picturing like this little devil on our shoulder, and we started like basically like turning our heads, going fuck off. Like we know you're there, but like, and we created like a little game around it. Like, and that was the subconscious mind saying that we needed the beer. We need the sugar. We need the fast food. We need the television. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, some people, when their emotions are triggered and they're heightened and they're stressed, they'll go online and buy some shoes. So it's allowing yourself to go, okay, my body's telling me I need alcohol, but what I really need is I just need to go for a walk, put on a podcast or read a book. And then you get, it's hard to do it. And I'm telling you right now, no one does it 100% of the time for the rest of their life. Like there's still a time where you go, fuck it, I'm having the beer anyway.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like it's you don't want to. I think the problem is sometimes is you feel guilty for having the beer, and then you fall into like this cycle of guilt, and then you do it again, and it's like, and then you're back down the track. So it's going, I fucked up last night, made a mistake. What am I going to learn from it? Like, what am I going to take out of it? It didn't make me feel good. What will make me feel good? All right, bang. Next time that automatic subconscious mind kicks in and goes, we need a beer. You go, no, this is what you told me last time and it didn't help. I'm going to change it this time. So I think that's a really powerful message to put on. How hard was it for you to change those things? Because you'd slipped, 4 years of using alcohol to numb things. I mean, how hard was that to change?
Yeah, that was a lot harder than people probably give it granted, I suppose. That one is probably one of the more addictive, drugs as it is, because it's so easy accessible. And yeah, I did, I suppose, fall there once, fall back, and then it felt like shit. I was like, oh, fuck this. this isn't helping, like yeah. But yeah, it just came down to that one was hard, I suppose. Like, because what happened was that they put me up in hospital under 24-hour surveillance for, I think it was 4 days. And this is probably at the peak where I was using a lot of alcohol. Like I was consuming a lot of everyday coping mechanism, and all I could think of was, oh, I want a beer, like in this hospital. And it was like, yeah. But in there, it gave me that time to think, that time I probably needed to sit back and reassess myself. But like, I think I went after that, it was probably about 6 months. I didn't touch alcohol at all, which was extremely hard. After that, I had mates. It was a big culture. There was a massive culture out there. Like every afternoon. Oh, you want a beer? You want a beer? And I was being strong enough to say no, I'm not doing it. But it was good. I had the right people around me that appreciated that and acknowledged it and didn't push the fact, which I think really helps too. It's you got to have the right people around you, like supportive people. Like if you have the wrong group of friends or whatnot, they'll still keep pressing. I don't understand what they won't, appreciate that. So I think a big part of it too is having the right people around you. If you're going through that stage. And for me, I did drop a lot of friends, like a lot of contact with a lot of people, just because they weren't going to be right. I needed to put myself first. So, but yeah, no.
I think that's a really brave thing to do, and I think it'd be remiss of me to not talk about that while it's been brought up, because that's what a lot of people fear, especially teenagers. They fear losing their friends because they're going to make a different decision. But what you've probably found, and I've definitely found, is that you find new people that are meant to be in your life in that period of time. And I think Nick does explain this pretty well. But you've got to let go of these things. Everything does have an expiry date. Some friendships do. It doesn't mean you don't like them as a person. It just means that they're not the right person for in your environment at the current time. They might come back into your life in 30 years and they might have gone through a spiritual change themselves and go, far out. No, I wish I did it 20 years ago when you did it, kind of thing. So it's amazing. Like, we're seeing it daily now with teenagers, how peer pressure and social media is influencing what they're doing. I actually saw there's a documentary called The Social Dilemma, which I'm actually really interested in watching. I don't know if either of you have watched it yet.
I think
I watched a bit of it.
Yeah. So, and it's just talking about how strategic social media and influencing it is. So if we've got these kids that are growing up thinking they have to follow something or follow someone, it's going to be harder to let go. So, and it's already a hard thing to do. So, like, full credit to you, and hopefully that will inspire others to go, because it doesn't mean you're a bad person, but it also doesn't mean they're bad people either.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's not bad people. It's just I've got some friends that don't even understand what I went through, and don't understand the whole thing. But we're good mates, and he never. Yeah, we're actually a really good friendship. And I'll try to explain, but it's for him, it's how would you say? Yeah, for him, he doesn't understand it, but then he also appreciates appreciated what I was doing and was supportive. So yeah, no.
That's like it's great to hear that, because you don't need to understand at all. It's just there's a difference between understanding and I guess trying to fix. Like, I guess when you're going through the shit, you don't want to be fixed. You just want support while you go through the battles. I think every time someone tries and fix you, it actually frustrates you more than anything, because you're like, I'm fucking trying to do this, mate. You're not telling me anything I don't know. Just sit here with me while I go through it. Let's talk about that support network around you. Who was around you? What were the things they were doing that felt like was helping you?
So our support network, it would have been obviously with Nick. I was touching base with him every week at that stage. Nick, and I did have my family come up. So my brothers and my father were there for a bit of that time. So I suppose they were just trying to encourage, the healthy eating, the going exercising, having a routine. Back through like when all this was happening, I was working for myself and I was just doing stupid hours. Like the way I was coping with it was alcohol and working stupid hours to try and numb everything, try and distract the mind. And I can look back now and realise that I've got a lot of valuable lessons from that period in my life, which all stepping stones to lead up to the future. You use them as stepping stones. Don't look at them as a negative as such, but see the positives, I suppose, within that period. I suppose I come out the other side with a lot of great knowledge, which I've been able to help other people with. But yeah, it came down to just getting that routine, eating healthy, and getting out and doing a bit more exercise, or doing the things I like, going out, running the dogs. Those sorts of things.
Yeah, and I'm guessing in that time when you first started doing that would have been extremely difficult still to. People we talk about it and people are like, oh, but it's not that easy. Yeah, we actually understand, like, getting out to just walk the dog when you're struggling with mental health like that is incredibly hard, but it's those things that build up, and all of a sudden these things come easier and it's more natural and flowing, and I'm guessing that was the same for you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very, very hard to, especially step away from the workshop. Step away from that and finish up at a decent time, so you go walk the dogs, go run the dogs and whatnot. Was a hard one, but it was good because the dogs also benefited from it as well. So it wasn't just me; they were a lot happier, and you start getting that positive ripple effect throughout your life that you're involved with.
I reckon Nick's got a question.
I've just got one from, we were talking about the discovery session before. You're saying that you got into walking, but how did you feel leaving that first discovery session?
Oh, bloody drained. Yeah. I was drained. And go, it was like a wake up call. You just go, wow, actually, I haven't been going as well as I thought. And then, a bit spun out, but it was really good because for once I didn't get it's all right, mate, this is just a rough patch. We all have these, you'll be right. It's like, I think that's the worst thing anyone wants to hear when they're going through a battle.
Yeah. It's devalidating the experience straight away.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, thanks, mate. If it was that easy, I would have done that about a couple of years ago. But it was probably a big wake up call. And then looking, like, oh shit, I've actually got to do a lot of work. But then I was actually probably really excited, like, oh sweet, when's the next session? Let's get this ball rolling. But it's like anything, it's getting your mental health fit. Like I say to people, you don't just throw your sneakers on and have a salad and think you're fit. And mental health is exactly the same. It takes time for you to build up, and then build up all these beliefs, these new thought patterns and beliefs, and retrain that mind. But once you commit, you start firing really well.
Yeah. How was so Nick would have given you, I guess, options of programs or something like that after the discovery session? Like, did you understand that you needed to do the work then, and Nick couldn't be another band-aid? Or
I suppose that was, it wasn't just going to be a band-aid fix, and I knew I needed to put the work in. And like you guys probably know yourself, Nick not going to work with people that aren't willing to change themselves. You've got to be willing to put the work in. It's not just like a lot of the other therapy sessions I used to go to, it was just like I suppose it was just a band-aid fix. You just go there and do your session and you leave, and then just go doing what you're doing. I might say a few inspirational things, and then that was it. But with Nick, he was setting those goals that I had to do during that, between our sessions. You have to do it, and if you didn't do it, you have to explain yourself, and yeah, you have to be accountable.
I like how you mentioned that, having the quotes, when you see other people, they've got the quotes and they'll kind of throw them at you, whereas Nick has the quotes, but then he'll break them down and explain them in his own way that it's easy to understand and I think draw inspiration from.
Yeah, I suppose that's where he's got the upper hand there. He definitely does. Breaks it down, just doesn't say it and leave it at that. He goes into a bit more depth, breaks it down.
You got another question, Nick? I reckon you've...
What's the biggest lesson, or what's the biggest thing that's stuck with you from your time with Nick?
The biggest lesson. Oh. I don't know. Yeah, that one's a tough one. It's probably the keys to your emotion. Before, I used to give the keys away to a lot of other people, a lot of external things to make me feel happy, instead of being content and present within himself and not needing all that kind of those things. It's probably being present and content with yourself, not needing those external things to be happy, like just being happy with what within yourself.
I think I love that, because like I'm seeing that a lot in Melbourne at the moment, where people they're so angry and they're like, oh, this is making me angry. I'm like, no, like the situation's rough, but you're deciding to be angry. Like it is a decision, but we're not aware of, I guess, it because it's such a natural thing to happen. But what we're doing is we're outsourcing our happiness straight away. We're not taking responsibility. I'm seeing a lot of it in Melbourne at the moment. Like it's why I'm trying to stay off social media, to be honest, because I'm then reacting. So I'm handing out my keys to my happiness to people on the back of computer screens. So another key message there from yourself. Love it.
That's one thing I've enjoyed. I've shared about 2 or 3 times now the Viktor Frankl quote of between stimulus and response, there's your space. I've shared that on my story about 2 or 3 times now, and it's interesting seeing people reply to that and suddenly going, oh, well, it's easy to say, but isolation this, isolation that, and it's like you're missing the point. It's
they're actually they're feeding. I mean, it's funny because that in itself, stimulus space response is a stimulus for people.
Yeah,
because they're not living that way, so they're like, oh, this isn't right. What else would you like to talk about today, Daniel, son?
Oh, I don't know.
I guess I didn't want to sort of end this in 10 to 15 minutes, or whenever we end it and you walk away and go, oh, I wish I shared that. But I mean, how has the journey been? And this isn't all about Nick or Mindfit. This is about you, and I think hopefully we've got that across, that you've done the work. I know for a fact that Nick would never take credit for the work you've done, which I think is another fantastic thing as well. He doesn't take the credit for the work you've done, or he doesn't take the credit for the people that haven't done the work, because that's them. And I hope people that are watching can take that out of it, that you have done the work. And I want to say kudos to you for doing the work, because I'm sure you're a better person to be around, especially to your family and friends. And who knows, like if you'd continue down that path, you probably wouldn't be doing triathlons. I mean, can you imagine drinking every night and doing triathlon?
No,
I'm sure it's possible, but I don't think it would be enjoyable at all. What's life like for you now compared to what it used to be like? To sort of paint a picture for the people watching, to I guess give them hope that things can change, and it's a really great place to be mentally.
Yeah, so I suppose day in the life of Dan. I suppose you're yeah, that one, you're not, I suppose, yeah, you are a lot more present. I'm a lot more content within myself, and not needing, not outsourcing, not needing those things in, those out there external sources to make me feel happy in life. I suppose now it's you do catch yourself a lot more. I think that's probably one of the awesome things. You're actually aware when your emotions are taking control, and you pull them up and go, oh no, like you just catch yourself and you don't respond to a situation, by your emotions. You take that second to process it, and that also works with working with people. That throwing their emotions onto you from them, like if something's not going wrong with on the work site, or they're under a lot of stress and they're going off at you, or not going off, but being short but not taking it to heart. I suppose is seeing the bigger picture as like not letting that
I think it's spoken about in the 4 agreements. Don't take anything personally, and he talks about the poison that people try and push onto you to try and make themselves feel better, and it's allowing them to just do it, and you just know that you'll walk away and you're fine. Like that's you deal with I'm not accepting that shit you're putting on me. It's a fucking great feeling when you can walk away from a situation like that. You don't give it another thought, but they're thinking about it for weeks. But it's also good to be in that position where if they came to you and said, I need help, and you go, well, here you go.
Yeah, that's it. And I suppose for me, it's also given me insight to see when maybe some other people aren't going quite as well, and I've touched base with them. I can reflect to the things I was doing when I was struggling. Being absent from work. If they've been absent from work and withdrawing from things. I do touch base. I think that's been a real helpful thing too. Like just touch basing with people and just seeing how they are, because back when I was struggling, everyone was saying, oh, you'll be right. You have to be. You're a male. You have to be this tough, bulletproof kind of bloke in the mining industry. We can't have feelings here, but I think now, so I've probably done two presentations in front of those groups of people, and I think being vulnerable and being out, talking about mental health in front of those people, you're like, wow. And as started a lot of a good positive conversations, and had some real good ripple effects amongst people. So
I think all 3 of us have had that experience where we've opened up in front of groups or social media, and the positive feedback you get is, I guess, Nick tells us not to expect things, but you don't expect people to have that positive feedback, but it really is like people get it. People to a degree, they get it. They realize everyone has emotion and feelings, so they all, when you're telling a story, trying to help, they all take it in somewhere. Even those that try and avoid listening will be taking it in, and at some stage in their life it'll pop back up. It'll be like, oh fuck, I'm where that guy was who I listened to 20 years ago. They won't even know the name. They'll just remember parts of the story that resonate with them, and they'll be like, fuck, I need help. So it's an inspirational thing to do, and it's extremely hard to talk about your history and your mistakes, and because it is still seen sometimes as a weakness that you went down that path and you should have been stronger, and all of those fun facts. So well done to you for doing that. And I guess if anyone is watching, you know, all three of us are willing to do presentations to groups, sporting clubs, mining industry, businesses, whatever it is. So if you're watching and you think we can help your group by sharing a part of our story with some mental health awareness, you know, we're all up for it. So just send an email to admin@mindfit.com.au. Before we head off, I'm going to go out for a nice walk, and we're going to go pick up a loan car because there are other cars in the mechanics. Is there anything else you'd like to add, either of you, before we jump off the line?
No.
You both good?
Actually, I'm gonna throw one out there. Kind of. I was going to talk to you about it later, actually, Shane. So I'll throw it out there. We've got another pin. So we're talking about the Melbourne lockdowns earlier, and talking about how people are responding to it. And it's something that's been really playing on my mind lately. Is the thought of we're basically calling for us to be able to remove our masks and be free.
Yeah.
And I've been through isolation. We've really unmasked the true mental health issue we've got, where a lot of it's unsurfacing that coping mechanisms are gone or dependencies.
Yeah.
I've just been this thing playing on my mind of, by us removing our masks, we're putting a mask back on mental health. It's kind of, we're going to give everyone's going, I want to be with my friends, I want to go to the pub, and we're going to just go have it all back.
Yeah, I've spoken about this exact thing with a couple of people this week. We've had really good conversations because I've actually seen a lot of people blame COVID as a reason for suicide and mental health, when the facts of it are the fact that a lot of people's coping mechanisms have been stripped away. The pub, the beer, the work, the friends, the family. Those codependencies have been ripped away. Now, I understand that the 5 basic needs of humans have been stripped away to a degree, but it's the dependencies that people are relying on. I think I've seen a bit. I wrote a post on it the other day as well. People are using suicide and statistics and blaming COVID for mental health. But if that's the case, why has there been a suicide epidemic for 20 years? Probably longer. Like, there's been no pandemic in that 20 years. So it's a bit of a, I'll probably take it a little bit personally as well, because I attempted my life before COVID. So does that mean I'm weak compared to these people? Like, I think a lot of people are using that line because it's easier. But I think, as you said, it's almost putting a mask back on mental health, because we're using COVID as an excuse. When we need to be going deeper, we need to be going, why is COVID bringing out this stuff? And I think the people that are in the know and that are doing the work and that are, I guess, secure within themselves will continue to do the work, and you probably don't see them to a degree because they are doing the work. But I mean, and I say this, we're going through Melbourne lockdown, and there's people blaming the COVID, the lockdown and pandemic in Melbourne for the suicide rate. But I recently saw an article where there was, in New South Wales somewhere, where there wasn't lockdowns, there was 20 suicides in teenagers. So that's, how can a pandemic be creating that in that area? So it doesn't add up. And I think the sooner we realise that COVID has just unmasked the mental health pandemic that there is, the sooner we realise that as individuals and as society, the quicker we're going to turn it around, to be honest with you.
Which is what scares me, because, when have we had a situation where it's been so highlighted? It's a lot of people saying people are, have got depression now because of this, and they've got, it's gone, well, no, it's always been there. There was an underlying, it's an underlying issue that's now become, everyone's now exposed to it.
Yeah, and even those people that will have a bit of post-traumatic stress from the pandemic, which can happen, is they've gone in with a lack of understanding of their emotions, their feelings, their thoughts and stuff like that, which is contributed. So their mental health, yes, they do have a mental illness and mental disorder, and that's okay, but we can improve the mental health to sort of work through that to improve their life. And I think, this is probably the most open I'll talk about this situation. I probably won't talk about it again publicly, because it's something that, triggers people, but I think it's important to a degree to talk about, because there is a lot of people doing great work, and when we get back from lockdown, what are people going to do? Well, some people are going to live this new lifestyle. So it's post-traumatic growth. I've heard that term a lot this year. And the other 50% are going to jump straight back into drinking at the pub or working 80 hours a week to try and catch up the money they lost. So it's probably going to be worse. So yes, we're going to be dealing with both sides of that. We're going to have a lot of people that are going to grow and evolve, and they're going to work 30 hours instead of 50 hours because they're going to spend that other 10 hours developing themselves and with their family. But you've got the other side who are going to go from working 60 hours pre-lockdown to 15 to working maybe 70 or 80 hours a week because they want to catch up what they've lost. And that's depression, really. That's stuck in the past. It's stuck in what isn't reality. So it is a huge worry, but I hope that people like us, and people that have put themselves first for an extended period of time before lockdown, which I find this funny, and I think both of you might agree to it. Agree to a point, is we've probably had our own lockdowns in life without an actual global pandemic. Like I know for myself, like last year I spent 80% of the time in my bedroom. That was my lockdown. My mind was completely locked, whereas now, yes, we're not allowed to do stuff, but I'm as free as I've ever been.
I was about to say the exact same. I feel a lot of people have been asking, how are you going with the isolation, and some people get something. Oh, you must be really struggling with isolation, and it's like, I hate to use the term, but I feel like I'm thriving in it. Like, and I said to someone the other day, I said, I'm actually loving the isolation, and they're like, what are you talking about? I am feeling that sense of freedom. Like, you and me, Shane, we've got our, we're going out and exercising a bit, and it's like, I've got my freedom. I'm not confined to four walls.
It's funny how, and I don't want to. This isn't to sound mean, because I've done this as well, but we've got 2 hours of exercise we're allowed a day. How many people have actually done that prior to lockdown? So what are they complaining about? Like, you weren't going out of the house for long about to exercise anyway. So I fucking wasn't. I know I wasn't. So I'm not going to complain about it. I'll go at it. So it's one of those things, and I think this is a good segue into next week's guest. Next week's guest is one of Nick's clients who just finished their 12-month program, Zach Kondik. I'm not sure if either of you know him. So just a brief rundown. And hopefully people that are watching this on YouTube early in next week prior to this one, or are watching down the track, and the next videos with Zach Kondik. I caught up with him this week and had a chat with him last weekend. He's 25 years old. He started with Nick. He had ankylosing spondylitis or something like that. I don't know how to say it properly. It's an autoimmune disease which affects the joints of the body, where at one point his knees were like 2 times the size of what they normally were because of the amount of swelling. He has cysts all over his body. His mental health was struggling last year, so he reached out and saw Nick. He had a lump on his shin the start of this year, and he just thought it was one of the cysts you usually get. And his lovely partner said, "I want you to go get it checked out." And the testing, they seemed pretty panicked, and it turned out that he had a tumor on his leg at 25. So he was battling an autoimmune disease. He then diagnosed with cancer. He's gone through a couple of radiation treatments this year. He had his own business. Was working for himself. He then had to have, I don't want to ruin his whole story, but it's going to become much better from him anyway. But he had to have his shin transplant. So he's got a donor shin. He's had the tumor removed from his leg. And 2 weeks ago, he woke up and had a spider bite on his hand. So you can imagine that someone's going through chemo and has an autoimmune disease, what that's going to do to a body when they have a spider bite. And the guy I met yesterday, despite going through all this, like us being in lockdown's got nothing on that. In all honesty, absolutely nothing. And I sat there and I listened with the intent to listen and understand and to really respect what he had gone through. I can't imagine how tough that would have been, because I think my dad's just turned up at my house. Better not put that on. He's allowed to. I think I think he's dropping something off. And yeah, it was inspiring. It really was inspiring, and it put a lot of things in perspective of because I've had a couple of struggle for a couple of weeks, and it really put things into perspective for me to see this guy who not only battling this, it's during a lockdown period as well. So he's not going to have family and friends that can pop over and all that. So that is next week's guest, and I do hope that I will send an email out next week, and I do hope people tune in or have questions for him. He'll also be a MindFit ambassador, and I'm sure he'll probably get more talks than we ever will. He's much more inspiring. That's just a fact. So I know none of us will take that personally. So is there anything else you'd like to leave it with before we end?
No, all good.
Thanks for joining me, Daniel and Nick. It's a pleasure. As we said, anyone can send through a message or email, and for any questions or ambassador type roles, we're happy to answer. Thank you, lads.
Thank you very much.